Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jess, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Hey, poddies, end of May already. Can you believe it? And today I'm jumping into your ears with a couple of questions, a couple of insights, some comments, I guess, on the beginning of 2020. So as you'll know, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, I usually run an episode just before Christmas about the next year's predicted annual trends. And I guess, some of the stuff that I said in 2020 is absolutely relevant and key, but I guess there are a few things that I probably was not expecting when I made those predictions. And today I wanted to give an update into what I see as being the top 3 major changes that will be coming to the sales and marketing arena in 2020 or for the rest of 2020, and how you can be using them to your advantage if you're not already, and how you can be preparing to grow during what is going to be an interesting time. Notice the word interesting, not challenging, not unprecedented, not difficult, interesting. Because for those of you who genuinely want to run a business and are interested in building a business, it is going to be interesting. Just like 2008 was interesting. Clearly Max did not care for 2008. So 2020 so far has not necessarily been the blast that was promised. I think a lot of people came into this year feeling like it was going to be the roaring 20s, everything was going to be positive. I know that there was quite a lot of talk from lots of different arenas, astrological arenas, the whole woo crowd were very much about 2020 is going to be the year. And to some degree, it really has been the year. It is a standout. I'm 30 years old, and I think there are probably 3 standout years in my life. One of them was the year that we had the solar eclipse, and I remember going outside and being equally terrified that I was going to go blind from looking at it, and excited that I was going to get to see something that wouldn't occur for another millennia. So that was really cool. 2011 was a hugely pivotal year for many people across the globe. I don't think anybody could ever forget 2011. That, I think, brought out some of the best and worst in humanity in my lifetime. And then, of course, we have 2020, the year of the global pandemic, the ever closer death of the high street, and murder hornets. Those have just appeared. So brilliant. Thanks, guys. Like we didn't need enough this year. We've got murder hornets now as well. If I was somebody with probably an iota more negativity in my system, I would be thinking that 2020 is going to be a terrible year for business. But actually, I don't think that. I never have thought that. Even when the COVID crisis first started, I was straight into my paid communities and into my free communities, explain to people why this would not be the death of their businesses. And I have to say that, there are not many times in my life where I will gloat, but this is one of them. Most of my predictions have been pretty spot on when it comes to certainly this particular crisis. And I think that this beginning, this initial quarter, gives us a really good opportunity to reassess the sales and marketing trends that we should be taking forward with our businesses to make it our most successful year yet, despite the start to it, because it still can be. We've had a long time over the last 4 months where we've been in adjustment periods. We've gone through initial shock, we've gone through trauma, we've gone through adjusting to a new normal, and we're going to be going through a lot of new normals as the year goes on. Personally, right, we'll be doing it from health perspectives, we will be doing it from lockdown perspectives. There'll be many things that continue to change. The interesting thing for me is that there are certain things in life regardless of what is going on, that just don't necessarily change all that much. And business is one of those things. It kind of, even when the chips are really, really down, businesses keep ticking over. There are certain things that they do that just keep them going. And I think that now is the time to predict some of the ways that we can all keep our own businesses afloat, keep them successful, keep them thriving during this time, but also make sure that we're contributing to the greater economy. And then finally, making sure that we're not getting stuck into all of the negativity and the drama and the inevitable changes that are going to come, and looking at them or reacting to them in a negative way. The reason I say that is not because I want everyone to be false positive. You know, I don't want everyone to walk around like Perky Sue and be like, oh, things are fine. You know, everything is falling down around my ears, but it's all good. That's not what I'm trying to say. But when you start a business anyway, you acknowledge yourself as being somebody who is going to have to be more agile than the average person. You're going to have to adapt more often than the average person, and you're probably going to have to be more flexible than the average person. So as entrepreneurs, we're primed for crisis. And that's a great thing, isn't it? Because I don't think that often enough we step back and look at it like that. A lot of the time we get so caught up in everything that we're seeing in the media, everything that we're seeing in the press, everything that we see on the newsfeed. And it can be quite hard to remember who we are outside of all of those different biases. So the first thing that you need to look at always is, do I still want to be an entrepreneur? And if I do, am I prepared to be ready, able, adaptive, and agile to all of the change that we're going to see over the rest of this year? If the answer is no, that's cool. The rest of this podcast episode probably, though, isn't going to be that interesting for you. So I'm hoping that the answer is yes. And if it is yes, then keep listening, because there are 3 things that I think you really, really need to be focusing on for the rest of 2020 to really make sure that your business flies in the face of this crisis and that it comes out the other side in the easiest way possible. So let's dive in. Firstly, let's just talk about messaging here, okay? I always want to start with the basics, and people laugh at me for this. I have a lot of incredible clients. One of the things that I've done over the last 18 months is I've taken on 2 private clients per quarter. And, you know, so that's a maximum of 2 one-to-one clients every quarter. And sometimes that'll be for continuous coaching, you know, so they'll do like 3 months with me, and sometimes that'll be for intensive. But it's only 2. And I've worked with some incredible people in a private capacity over the last 18 months. I've worked with people like Lisa Johnson, who has been incredibly public about some of the awesome achievements that she has had, including 6-figure launches, back-to-back 6-figure launches. I've worked with some of the internet marketing, internet leadership, and even the internet woo space's biggest entrepreneurs, people who are running multi-6 and 7-figure businesses. And it's been incredible, because the first thing that I sit down and do with every single one of these business owners, people who are making a lot of money, who are incredibly well respected in their space, who are selling high ticket, low ticket, high volume, exceptionally premium priced and leveled services, everything under the sun. The first thing we sit down and we look at is always, are they clear? Who are they selling to? What do they want to sell? What's their message? Now, I have been recording podcasts all week this week because it's my batching week, the best week of the month. And I was lucky enough to have a conversation yesterday with Eleanor Beaton, who is going to be on the podcast in a few weeks. And we were recording that conversation. One of the greatest things about Eleanor, I love her, by the way, she has an incredible podcast called Fierce Feminine Leadership. Eleanor is an exceptional business owner, and we got onto the topic of messaging and making sure that your message isn't diluted. When your message becomes diluted, that's when things start to go awry. And so it always makes me laugh when people come to me who are not making the money that they want. And I say to them, okay, so first thing we have to do is we have to get clear. Who are you selling to? What are you selling them? And then we have to dig into your message. And they say, no, Jess, you don't understand. I've already done that. And it doesn't work. And this is an interesting thing for me because I am somebody who's very guilty, just as an FYI, very guilty of being, I would say, overly confident in my abilities to a certain degree, especially when I was younger. And I would try things maybe once or twice, and sometimes I would get great results and sometimes I wouldn't get great results. And it didn't really matter what the results were, because when anyone asked me about it, I'd always go, oh yeah, I know that. I've done that. I've tried that. And sometimes it made me incredibly closed-minded to what actually worked, because I was so focused on explaining to somebody that I'd done that and I was justifying why it didn't work or why it wasn't my favorite thing or whatever that was, that I wasn't actually looking at how it could work for me. I was too busy assessing why it would not, or why it wasn't the right thing for me to do, or why I needed something that was more advanced so that I could feel, I don't know, more validated about myself. I had a lot of problems in my 20s. I'm saying this and I'm like, I should have been in therapy from like 20 to 23, maybe. Anyway, it's really important that for the rest of 2020, you are super, super clear, both in terms of your focus and in terms of your messaging. My firm belief is that diluted messaging will kill your business. If you try and dilute your messaging to appeal to everyone, doing everything, it's not going to survive. This does not mean, and I want to be very, very clear about this, this doesn't mean that you can't have multiple areas of expertise. It doesn't mean that you can't master multiple niches. But the key word there is master. You have to dominate a space, and then you can add in something else. You can add in a new ideal client. You can add in a new niche, but you don't get to do it all at once, because that's not how it works. And it will be the quickest thing to kill your business. So if you've been, like me, guilty of being a little overconfident and thinking, well, I already know what my message is and I'm already super clear on who I'm selling to and what I'm selling, just do a little bit of a sense check. Because if it is not so simple to explain that a 5-year-old can understand it, you have not got a clear message. I know, and I get this all the time, I see it all the time, bugs the crap out of me, that there is a tendency, and there's almost like a popularity contest in who can have the one-liner that makes the least sense possible. It's like a source of pride in the online space, and people sit there and they'll say things like, I am a comprehensive clarity and medieval arms expert, and I help everybody dig deep into their inner medieval child zone so that they can understand lunar charts to use for X and Y. And by the time you actually get through it, you're like, I mean, it's just a lot of words, isn't it? Like, it's not clear what that person does. On a side note, actually, it always makes me laugh when I go on people's podcasts or anyone asks me to be a guest expert. People are always saying to me, they're like, Jess, how do you want me to introduce you? And I'm like, well, just say whatever you like. I don't really care. And I'll always say, just call me a sales coach. It's cool. That's what I do. And the amount of people that say to me, oh, are you sure? Would you like me to do something? And I'm like, no, it's all good. That's what I do. Plain and simple. So try and drill what you do down to the very bare bones. Ask a child if you have one handy. Dogs are not great at this. I mean, Max just looks at me like I'm a cretin, full stop, all the time. But if you have a child available, related or close friend has one that you can maybe talk to on the phone or something without it being creepy and weird, then I would absolutely fully advise saying to a child, this is what I do. Because children will always say, I don't know what that means, or I don't understand that, or I don't like that, or that sounds stupid. They're great for feedback. So if you want honest and direct feedback on your messaging or your one-liner, ask a kid, preferably a child under 10, because they have opinions all day long. And it actually really entertains me. So that's element number one. That is trend number one. If your message is diluted, if you're trying to cater to everybody, if you're one of these people who says, but my services can help everybody, then I'm sorry, but I don't see that being a trend that's going to take off in 2020. I don't see it as being a trend that's going to be profitable. What you need to do now, what you must do now, is get super clear on who you want to help right now. It doesn't mean that you can't help other people in the future. It doesn't mean that, that the ideal client that you start with now is going to be the one that you have in 5 years' time. Probably won't be. But you need to master one. That is going to be integral. If you want your business to thrive through this, you need to become a specialist. Now, that actually leads me on to the next trend that I see happening, certainly in terms of sales and in terms of business growth. I want to give a little bit of background here. We're about to see a lot in the media, if we haven't already at the time that this actually airs, about an impending recession. Recessions are great things. I want to really dispel these myths around it. I've been around recessions most of my adult life, and for me, the word recession is almost synonymous with the word opportunity. Now, I was very, very fortunate when I was working in the corporate world to work for a company and to work for incredibly talented sales directors who drilled that into me. Even when everyone is telling you there is no money, there is always money. There is always opportunity. There are always businesses who are going to keep going. I remember being terrified by the 2008 recession only when I went home. I would go home at weekends, I would talk to my friends, and everyone would be scared. Everyone would be avoiding spending money. They would stop going to the pub because they're like, oh, well, the recession is making everything tight and I don't want to buy anything or go on holiday or do anything because of the recession. Individuals blame a lot on the recession. And I can see that because as an individual working for a company at that time, it was scary. I had no control. If the company had gone bust, I would have, got another job, obviously. But it's that feeling of discomfort that we don't like. It's that feeling of not knowing. And so, yes, 100%, certainly here in the UK, we will be going into a recession. Is it something to worry about? No, it's not. Recessions happen. And actually, it's just like I was saying right at the beginning of coronavirus, this is the best kind of recession. If there was going to be a competition for recessions, it's the best kind of one. It's a planned recession. The UK government knew that they were going to have to pump money into the economy. And that is what they've done. Regardless of your feelings on politics, I am very apolitical when it comes to, chatting on the podcast or just anywhere else, really. I think politics are a terrible, terrible can of worms. But the UK government have been ploughing money into the economy to keep jobs safe so that people will have something to go back to keep things moving, so that we are able to keep funding integral services. And so, yes, 100% we will be in a recessive period because our like-for-like numbers have gone down. I was just reading a report where the Bank of England said that we will contract as an economy by about 14%. And when you say it like that, it's not really a big deal, is it? It's like, oh, well, 14%, And if I think about it in terms of my business income, if my business income contracted 14%, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd be like, whoa. But I'd also think, oh, well, that's still a good percentage. That's 86%. It's doing okay, right? Sometimes we have to flip the way that we look at things. So yes, we will be going into a recession. What does that actually mean? Well, as of today, when I'm recording this, the Bank of England are actually pretty happy. They're like, okay, we're going to contract 14%, but they see every piece of evidence pointing to the fact that this recession will be short-lived and that we will bounce back to pre-corona economic heights by mid-2021, which actually is not a long period of time. And, the reality is that we obviously have the opportunity to bounce back quicker than that. That's the joy of being in an uncertain market, is that, there is always that optimism that I think we forget about because the stuff that we see in the newsfeed is always so negative. So it's easy to get caught up in, oh my God, everything's going to be awful. But equally, we could find that it bounces back quicker than we expect. Either way, if the Bank of England isn't worried, I'm not worried. Those guys are paid to be worrywarts, right? So if they're not out there screaming about it and, making sure that everybody feels horrific, we're going to be okay. It's a good thing. Okay. Recessions themselves aren't inherently good things, but in a bad situation, it's the best of a bad bunch. Okay. The reason that this is important is because the second trend that I see and that I have been seeing for the last 2.5 years, and I've been banging this drum for the last 12 months incessantly, is that more than ever before, selling is not only going to become more acceptable, but we are going to see way more entrepreneurs enter the business to business marketplace. That's going to be huge for 2020. It doesn't matter what area you're working in. It doesn't matter if you're working in mindset, marketing, if you're in something that is spiritual development, if you're in learning development, personal development, self-development, sales, something practical that is a traditional head office function like finance or accounting, if you're a web designer, if you're a virtual assistant, all of these things are going to be integral to companies thriving. And every single business owner out there, and I will stake my ground on this because I'm 100% certain, every single business owner, small business owner, every single solopreneur out there, by the end of this year, whether they do it or not, will wish that they had a corporate revenue stream. Every single one. Because guess what happens? I've just given you this kind of context around recessions. Guess who stops spending money during recessions? Individuals. They're the ones who worry because we're the ones who are exposed to the media. We're the ones who are exposed to the newsfeed. We're the ones who are soaking up all of the worry and the fear and the Guess who keeps spending money? Companies. Because businesses around the globe have outlasted recessions, have outlasted world wars, have outlasted other things that have happened. And they're still going. They're still strong. Some businesses will drop out. Some companies won't be on the market. A lot of people have said this to me recently. They're like, did it worry you that Cath Kidston are going into administration? My mum actually said that to me, and I laughed, because my mum is somebody who was obsessed with Cath Kidston, and I've never really understood why, because I'm just not a massive floral pattern person. B, because when she said, are you surprised or were you worried? My immediate thought was, no, I'm surprised they didn't go bust quicker. I'm surprised they haven't been in administration for years, because every time I walk past a Cath Kidston store, I never see anyone in it. I've not seen anyone buy anything from a Cath Kidston store, including my mother, for the last 3 years. And we have one where I live. So I walk past it pretty regularly, or I did before all this happened. There are companies, particularly retail companies, that have been on the decline for years, and we will see the inevitable death of the high street. I'm actually very excited about this. I think it's huge in terms of opportunity. I was talking about it with some of the people inside my C-suite the other day. We were talking about the fashion industry and how it's going to be moving forward. And one of the things that I was predicting was that fashion brands were going to be utilizing e-commerce more than ever before. We're going to see this huge rise in digital technology, in artificial intelligence, that AI technology that has been missing from the retail space and the fashion space for this entire generation. I was so excited about it. I went on about it for about 25 minutes. Spoiler alert, if you are inside the C-suite, there is a great fashion trading. If you're interested in that area, go and watch it. It's in the bonus training sessions, and it is brilliant. We had a great conversation. But it's interesting because less than 2 weeks later, we're seeing articles from Business Insider, from Wall Street Journal, from BBC News saying fashion retailers are advancing their technology. Fashion retailers are going to be using AI. And I'm like, this is brilliant. The high street may die. We may all be, seeing that in the media every single day. But what we're not seeing are the thousands of small tech firms who have been dying to get their hands on some of the world's biggest fashion brands for years and improve their websites, improve their e-commerce offerings, improve their artificial intelligence offerings, make shopping online easy and fun. They're going to be thrilled. We're probably not going to see it in the media, but they're going to be rubbing their hands with glee thinking, oh my God, all the cool projects we're going to get to work on. And that's going to happen across every single industry. We've already seen this kick off in certain disciplines. We've seen mindset experts become more sought after than ever before because guess what? Mental health is suddenly a big focus. And with lockdown going on, people are worried about mental health and isolation and remote management. We see marketing take a big turn because suddenly, guess what? Companies who did not manage their messaging well when it came to the beginning of coronavirus, they need help now with communications, with PR, with external marketing, with internal marketing and communications, recruitment. Selling B2B is going to be a way of life. And if you're not on board yet, I know that I've been very, very diplomatic with most people about, okay, well, you could just continue on and never sell B2B. Now I am not. It is going to be the biggest sales trend at the end of this year. You can choose to wait, and you can choose to wait that out and, see how you feel at the end of 2020. By that time, you won't be an early adopter. You will have missed out on key times to build relationships, key times to do business development, and other people will already be winning corporate contracts that you want. It's up to you. It is up to you. I can't do anything about it. I can't sit at your desk and wax lyrical about it any more than I already have. But it is going to be the biggest sales trend of this year. Entrepreneurs everywhere are going to want a corporate revenue stream from companies, whether they are small to medium-sized enterprise companies or whether they are the massive household brands that we see every day, because those are the companies who are going to have a plan to survive this. I've said this right from the beginning. They're going to have contingency plans. They're going to have key experts working in risk management departments who are very, very qualified, who are analyzing the numbers every day, and who are going to damn well make sure that their company survives, that their company thrives, and that they are set up to come out of COVID-19, to come out of any impending recession in the best, most profitable way possible. And yes, before it gets better, it will look worse. I want to be really clear about that. So if you hear this episode and you're like, oh my goodness, but Airbnb just made, 1,500 layoffs, or BA is now going to pull out a Gatwick, or any of that. Yep, totally. It's going to look worse before it looks better. Guess what though? Those businesses will be lean. They are focusing on the most profitable areas. In fact, the Airbnb chief exec wrote a fantastic email about the areas in their business that currently were not profitable, where they were wasting money. So they were reducing resources. And he said, I'm so sorry to everybody that we're having to lay off in those areas, but we do hope that you will come back, and we are going to support you with a recruitment scheme, and we are going to keep paying you health insurance, and we're going to give you 3 months salary or whatever it was. It looks scary when we see the numbers, but you are in the best position ever to be able to support companies as an external supplier. Because not only now do they need you more than ever because they may have had to make redundancies that they weren't looking to make, but also they need the skills of small business owners who can be flexible and agile and adaptive, and show them how to bring that into worlds that have been process driven and held up by red tape for years. They are looking for your skills. They will be crying out for them. And if you don't pick up the work, somebody else will. Again, it's up to you. But like I say, I firmly believe it's going to be a big trend. Now, I'd also like to say that I wish it was a big trend because of me. But that's not the case. It's going to be because of the way the world is moving, because of the way that we are inevitably going to see this shape how business looks across the board for everybody. But in order for you to make sure that this element works for you, whether you implement a B2B revenue stream as a primary source of revenue or as a secondary revenue stream, make sure that you are a specialist. Follow the, what we were just talking about, my earlier point around having a very, very clear focus and a very, very clear message, because companies love specialists. It will make it a lot easier for them to buy from you. And then the final trend that I see, and I would love your guys' thoughts on this, by the way. If you think I'm completely wrong and you've got something that you want to throw out there, throw it into the mix, email me, tell me. I always love hearing. If you think that I'm right, email me, tell me. I always love hearing that too. But the third thing that I think is going to be really important to note, and it will be really interesting to see how this plays out, and I haven't really thought about in my head to the nth degree, which is unusual for me, but I haven't really thought about to the nth degree of how it will play out. But influencer marketing is on the wane, right? It's going to decline. I strongly believe that it's going to decline. There are a few reasons for this. One is because everyone is very accessible now. You can go onto TikTok and you can watch the Kardashians doing TikToks, and you can message them almost directly on there. You can equally do it with the people who are on Strictly Come Dancing, which actually I would be much more interested in, because I I think they're a very talented bunch. Everyone's very accessible. And so one of the things that is interesting about influencer marketing is that to a certain degree, there has to be some kind of fourth wall. You have to pick people to be influencers who are relatable, who can give inspiration and provide like an aspirational marketing piece for the general public. But equally, there has to be that fourth wall where you know that you're not going to bump into them at your local pub and can just ask them, hey, was that really those magic eye cream things, or was it actually Botox? Because I think that is the question that I would ask. I'd buy them a drink first, but I'd really want to know. It's also interesting because for the first time ever, gurus and newbies are on the same foot. And the really interesting thing is that the people who have amassed a huge following have also most likely amassed a strong group of people who don't actually like their stuff or don't recommend their stuff. Whereas newbies don't have that. And when you are new to the business market, you focus on quality. So, the thing that most people newer to business are guilty of is that they will provide and go above and beyond to extreme degrees because they are so focused on providing a quality experience. I don't think there's anything wrong with this, by the way. I still do it now. And a lot of my peers say that I over deliver massively, but I've built my business on providing quality content and quality information and quality implementation that gets results. And that's always set me in good stead. So I can't say that I don't agree with it. I do, however, think that one of the things that we will see that will be really interesting is that although there will be a focus on quality content, both free and paid, consumers won't be interested in consuming as much content as they have previously. Because what we're learning from this current crisis is that people are actually staying away from social media more than they were before. A lot of people are saying, and what I'm seeing is that they don't want to be on the Facebook newsfeed because it's negative and it's not a great space to be. So they're going on there maybe to check if their friends have put up photos of their kids, or they're checking in if they are in a paid group or community that has a Facebook element, they're checking that. But they're not aimlessly scrolling anymore, which means that content has to be good, has to be eye-catching, has to be solid quality, but equally, it's not going to be about volume. So the person who posts the most is no longer necessarily going to get the likes. Isn't that going to be interesting? I'm really interested by that. I'm excited by that. As somebody who has worked to create and cultivate quality content over the last 2 years, I'm very excited for this, but also it's going to create this massive shift. And we're already seeing it. We're already seeing people take time away from the newsfeed. We're already seeing people step back from social media platforms. We're already seeing more people say, oh, I'm really loving the emails that I'm getting, because they've cultivated their inbox from people they want to hear from. and they've gotten rid of the people they don't want to hear from. Now, it's also going to be interesting because it means that the way that they buy is going to be different. It's going to be way more specific. So people who have been launching generic courses that cover off a multitude of different things are going to find them way harder to sell moving forward. And the reason for that is because, again, individuals, when they're going to be spending money, they're going to be very, very specific about where they want that money to go and what on. And they're going to be looking for very, very specific and key transformations. So it's not going to be enough anymore to just shove a ton of courses into a membership platform and, you know, give endless bonuses that are completely irrelevant from the main product to try and get people to buy. That's not going to increase the fear of missing out anymore. That's not going to be a reason of scarcity. It's not going to make people buy. What's going to make people buy is getting super specific about who their audience is and what their problems actually are, and what the genuine transformation is that they want to actually achieve in the end piece, but also what that process looks like. Like, they're not going to want to consume 50 hours of video content anymore to figure out how to put together a PDF, create a lead magnet, get an opt-in form, and put it out on the internet. People are going to be looking to have quick wins. They're going to be looking for courses that are gamified. They're going to be looking for accountability because they know they are going to want to use these investments, right? So you've got to get super clear. It's not going to be about building up a likes campaign. It's not going to be about being an influencer anymore. It's also not going to be about, it's not going to be about, it's going to be a shift in the types of marketing that we use. I mean, if any of you have read my book, you know that I talk about sales styles: aspirational, emotional, and fear of missing out. And everyone is usually a combination of two. I would say that most people aim in the online space to be an aspirational seller. And that's what we've seen over the last 5 years, traditionally or historically, has been people who have been aspirational in some way. If they're in the weight loss industry, you know, they've lost a ton of weight, they look amazing, people aspire to be them because they've already hit a goal. If they're in the online business space, they have been in Paris having photo shoots in front of the Eiffel Tower, taking first class flights everywhere, lying on piles of cash, or posing in front of rented Lamborghinis. Pointing no fingers. But we've seen this aspirational style, and now we're in a time period where we're going to see a lot of people reassessing their priorities. Right? People are spending more time with their kids now. They are spending more time outdoors now. They are getting hobbies other than their business now. They are not as keyed into the luxury lifestyle necessarily, because it doesn't mean anything anymore if you can't go out and do anything with it, right? Where am I going to wear my Christian Louboutins? The answer to that, by the way, is to my office. I wore them to speak at the Atomicon event virtually. My feet really hurt at the end, but it was worth it. It's that kind of thing that's going to change. As your audience assess their priorities, and their priorities focus around self-care, their mental health, their physical health, their business, and actually getting the best results in the shortest time frame, we're going to see major changes to marketing styles, to how people market, to the quality of content that is out there and that people want to consume, and also to the regularity of content. It's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be so interesting, and there is so much opportunity. And that makes me really excited, because for those of you who are listening who are thinking, oh my goodness, you know, this is my final opportunity, or this is my best opportunity to go out there and genuinely change the way that my industry works, to genuinely shape my industry or my specialism, or to do something different, or to tell people, give them a message that they haven't been listening to, but now they are reassessing, and now they'll be ready to hear it. Be excited. This is your time. Like, there is going to be no better time for you to build something that lasts, that is big, that makes a genuine impact. But if you're somebody who got into this, you know, a few years ago, and you've kind of done it because, I don't know, maybe you've had the 6-figure months and the glory and all that kind of stuff, and you're worried about where this is going to go, because perhaps some of the strategies that have been working for the last however long and now not going to, this is also a great opportunity for you to shake things up, to fall in love with your business again, to become the trendsetter again, the leader. You know, we use the word leader so often, and I really do. I think we should replace it with trendsetter. Who is going to be here this time next year? I am. I'm absolutely 100% committing that my business will be here next year. It will be in the format that I've been building it for the last year. It's definitely what I'm going to take forward. I'm going to be sharing, you know, behind the scenes with the people inside my mastermind. We're going to be bringing in some of my corporate clients into the C-suite so that people can hear a genuine overview of what it's like, what the work is that I've done with corporate organizations, the different packages that I sell, why I sell them, how they work for companies, and then being able to see that transformation play out. So I will be here next year, and I really hope you will be here next year too. Just don't be afraid to change. What you have done up until now has got you here. This is an unusual situation. Nobody's ever tried to shy away from that. We are going to see further unusual situations to come. But you don't need to change. You know, you've got to think of it as though you are the sail on a boat. The wind might change. You might go in a different direction. You might hit a little storm here and there. But you yourself, you don't change. Your message is on the sail for everyone to see. Your focus is clear for everyone to see. You keep driving back to the correct direction, even if you have to take a few pivots along the way. You are going to be fine. Just think about how these trends are going to impact you, how they're going to impact your business, and which one of them you actually want to go ahead and move forward with. You don't have to take all of this, right? You don't have to think, okay, well, I'm not going to be an influencer anymore and I need to change my niche entirely and then I need to go and create a corporate revenue stream. Just pick one. Pick the right one for you. For a lot of you, it's going to be getting that clarity and refocusing your message so it really stands out in the market. And then maybe one of the other two. But just start where you are. Pick one and move, because as entrepreneurs, we have this amazing flexibility, this ability to adapt and change that other businesses do not have. And it sets us in really good stead. But if you do not adapt, then it will be a very, very different outlook. Okay? So there you go. Those are some of the trends that I'm predicting we will see over the next 8 to 12 months. I'm very excited about them. I think, like I say, it's a very, very good opportunity. If you are somebody who is interested in setting up a corporate revenue stream, you are more than welcome to book in a totally free call. You can have a chat with me about the C-suite, about what it could do for you, for your business, and whether it would be the right opportunity. I will tell you honestly and transparently if it is or it isn't. I will be seeing you in the next episode. We've got some really cool episodes coming up over the next month. Our next episode in June is with an amazing guest. She's one of my clients, has been for a number of years, has made some incredible pivots in her business, and is one of the best speaker and presentation coaches that I've ever seen. We also have, as mentioned in this episode, another guest coming up, but that will be at the end of June. And that is obviously Eleanor Beaton from the Fierce Feminine Leadership podcast, which I'm very, very excited about. She is absolutely incredible. So make sure you look out for those. And obviously in between, I'm answering some questions that I've had in my inbox about things that are non-coronavirus related, which is always exciting. So we will be talking about pricing. We will be talking about some of the social media sales strategies that I have seen being used really, really well. And we're also going to be talking about some of the product stacks that you might be seeing coming up over the next few months and what would be relevant to add into your business if you're looking for another project. So look out for those. I will see you in next week's episode. Have an awesome week. And as always, if you have enjoyed it, please do get in touch. Leave us a review. It's always hugely, hugely appreciated.